Alright, this is part 2 of rendering. So we previously, part 1 video, we exported from Onshape. We imported that file into Fusion 360, the online version of it. And once we're here, we're going to go over here and go down to render. And it should say design at the moment. Go down to render, and it opens up the rendering page, and it gives you a bit of a preview of what your render is going to look like. So you can move your object around and get it looking the way you want. So we've got a few tools up the top, and we're going to use some of these tools. We're going to go through and use some of them. We'll start with the appearance one. So it's the one that looks like a color wheel. So click that, and we get this dialog over here. And this is where you can choose your material that you apply to your project. So I mean, you could choose liquids and metals and mirrors and all sorts of things, but go down to one of the wood ones. I usually find the one that's got solid in brackets is the best. So click to open it, and you get more tabs. So, you know, wood that's finished or painted or stained or unfinished. I usually like the finished look. Click that to open it, and we get all our options. So this is where we can choose the type of timber that we apply to our project. I'm going to choose, which one was it? Let's just do 3D maple. Most of these have to be downloaded first. So that's that little icon with the arrow pointing down to the line. So before you use it, they will have to be downloaded. So I'm just going to choose 3D maple curly glossy. I'm going to download that. Did that work? Oh, there it goes. That's done. And what I can do is then hover your mouse over the little image that's there and drag that and drop it onto the parts of your project. And because all those 4 parts were the same, it applied them all to those. So I'm going to try another material here. Let's just try this one. So I downloaded it, just 3D maple glossy. Apply that to the stem, and I'm going to apply the same material under here, and again for the other piece. So they look like timber now. I'm going to choose some timbers for the top. So I need a dark timber and a light timber. So I know oak is light. Oh yeah, walnut and oak. Oh no, pine. I think I'm changing my mind. I'm going to use pine, so we'll download that. That'll be for the light colors. So I'm going to make this a bit easier for myself. And we'll drag, and it's a little bit of a delay, so make sure it highlights the correct one before you let go of your mouse. And there you go, it applied that. So this is going to be slow, especially for a chessboard. So to keep this video short, I'll pause it now, and we'll come back a bit later when I've finished applying all these materials. I'll just quickly unpause. If you accidentally, it's quite easy to do, is accidentally apply the color to the wrong piece. It's easy enough to fix. So if I just get the new color, it'll replace it. So I'm going to pause again and finish applying these colors to this project. Well, there you go. I finished applying all my timbers to my project. I think I used pine and walnut and cherry and then maple for all that under here. So how do I rotate my view? Middle button. So there you go, it's all applied. We're going to close that. So far that's not a proper rendering. It starts to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. We're going to go back up to this setup menu to scene settings. I would advise you against fiddling with this too much. If you drag these sliders all over the place, you can change it badly, and there's a restore defaults button down the bottom to get you back. But what we're going to do is background. We don't want a solid color. We're going to use an environment. So we click that. I think we put the tick in where it's got ground plane and flatten ground. We can change it later if it doesn't work. And reflections usually look okay too. Gives you a bit of a reflected surface down there. Hopefully you can, why won't you zoom? Yeah. Now at the tab at the top, we go to the environment library. There's some environments here. And again, if they've got the little download button, they need to be downloaded first. And there is a way to attach your own background to it. I'm not going to go into that in this video, but you can from the internet download, I think it's called a HDR background. Anyway, we're not going to go into that now. So you can put a custom background if you are really that way inclined. So I've just downloaded Plaza, and like we did before, we drag this and place it on the background. And it takes a minute. And there you go, that's what it looks like. I'm going to zoom that in. So fortunately, it has placed my object directly on the ground. It's actually a bit up in here, I think. Anyway, adjust your view until you're happy with how it looks. I'd like to see the top a bit. That will do. Now, if you can experiment with the flattened ground. Yeah, I'm not really sure what it does, but yeah, and the reflections and so on. Okay, and adjust your view so you're happy with it. We can click close. We are ready to render now. That's not a rendering right now, but we go up here to this in canvas render, and we click that, and it's going to start rendering. So this can take some time depending on your internet and the computer power that you have, but it's doing that ray tracing thing. It's a bit hard to see, but down here you'll end up with there's a little arrow pointing at excellent. You can drag that further along, but it's going to take heaps longer. When this blue line reaches the arrow, it's finished rendering. Just a word of warning, if you change your view once it started rendering, it has to restart. So if you twist your view or move it in any way, it'll go right back to the start and start again, because it's only rendering what it sees. It's not like a game that can render in 3 dimensions. It only renders what it sees. So I'm going to let this go. I'll come back to this video when it's completed, which could be some time. It's 2:49 now. Let's see how long it's going to take.